Going to go a little ad hoc today. They didn't give me my usual script, but I've done this enough. I think I can do it from heart, or from memory. So we're going to hear two things today: subdivision cases and zoning cases. Before we get started, I'd call the roll. Is the roll ready to be called?
Sure.
All right, let's go.
All right, Chairman Lowry.
Here.
Vice Chairman Miller.
Here.
Dr. Dickerson.
Here.
Patrick Gilbert.
Here.
Cynthia Donald.
Here.
Trudy Strain. Here. Georgia McCoy O'Neill.
Here.
Christy Forsyth. Here. Chris Nicholson. Here. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Awesome. All right, we'll get started. So just a little logistics. If you got your phone out, but you place it on silent, so like that one. I heard one. So just so we won't be disturbed if we need to. And if you need to grab a call, just you can head out the door to do that. I understand business too. So for our subdivision cases today, the Planning and Zoning Commission is the decision maker. So we'll call the case and it'll be presented by staff. Then once we have that, we'll check and see if the applicant's here and ask if there's opposition. And if there is, we'll hear from opposition. And then we'll have any questions from the applicant from the commission. And then we'll hear zoning cases after that. We'll start off with our first subdivision case today on the agenda is S230038. The applicant is Larry Davis. This is 2 lots proposed in the Mount Olive area. Mr. Mike.
Yes, sir. This is a request to divide an acreage tract into 2 lots of record. The Board of Zoning Adjustment did grant a variance for Lot 1 to be able to record Lot 1 having less than an acre in A1 zoning. Otherwise, both lots meet all lot specifications with regard to lot width and road frontage. And if you look also at the zoning map, that will give you an indication of what the lots in the area look like, and the lot and the granting of the variance of the lot having less than 1 acre is not out of character with the surrounding area. As it meets all required and varied requirements of the zoning regulations, staff recommends approval.
All right. Thank you. Is the applicant here? All right. Thank you. Is anyone here in opposition to this subdivision case? Any questions from the commissioners for the applicant? All right. Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve S230038. Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. I think Vice Chairman Miller seconded first. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. So you know what happens when you don't have your script and your agenda in front of you, you forget something. So I'm going to backtrack just a moment. I forgot to ask for a motion on the meeting minutes from our last meeting from June 8th. So I'm going to do that real quick.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to suspend the rules and accept the minutes from last meeting as presented.
Second, Mr. Chair.
All right, have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, back to subdivision cases. Next one is S230042. The applicant is Keith Naismith. This is 2 lots proposed in the Mount Olive area. Mr. Mike?
Yes. Again, this is an acreage tract that is proposed to be divided into 3 tracts. One is for immediate development as residential. The other one is going to be a conservation easement that encompasses most of the floodplain that's here to the southern end of the property. And then the remainder will just be vacant acreage tract as of right now. If you recall back a couple of months ago, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of a rezoning for this property from CU to A1. The County Commission approved that on June 8th of 2023. As proposed, the proposed subdivision does comply with all the requirements of the zoning regulations, and staff recommends approval.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mike. Is the applicant present? All right, great, thank you. Is there any opposition to this subdivision case today? All right, hearing none, are there any questions for the applicant from the commission? All right, hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for approval of S230042. Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Our next subdivision case is S230043. The applicant is Larry Davis. 3 lots proposed. This is in the Warrior area. Mr. Mike?
Yes, sir. Again, this is a request to subdivide an acreage tract into 3 lots of record. Each lot proposed conforms to the requirements of A1 zoning, as they all comprise of less or more than 1 acre, and they all satisfy minimum roads frontage requirements. As such, staff recommends approval.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mike. Is the applicant here? Popular guy. Is there anyone here in opposition to this subdivision case? All right, hearing none. Any questions from the commissioners? All right, hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for approval of S230043.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. All right, our next subdivision case is S230043. Applicant Larry Davis. All right, so that's 3, a hat trick if we were playing hockey. 3 lots proposed in Warrior, no less, again. So, Mr.
Again, just a correction. This is case S-23-44, correct?
Yes. Did I say 43?
You said 43. Just
So,
to
I'm sorry.
clarify.
So it is S23044, and it is 3 lots proposed. Larry Davis is the applicant, and this is in the Warrior area.
And, again, this is a request to to subdivide an acreage tract into 3 lots of record. Each lot meets all requirements of the zoning regulations for A1 zoning, and staff recommends approval.
Okay, I know the applicant's here. Any opposition to this subdivision case? All right, hearing none. Any questions from the commissioners? All right, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S230044.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. I would add, just real quick, I didn't put this in. If your case has already been heard and you don't have any other cases like Mr. Davis, you can certainly go ahead and leave. You don't have to stay for the whole meeting. But you're welcome to. All right, so our next subdivision case is S230045. The applicant is Jason Bailey. 3 lots proposed in the Azure area. Mr. Mike?
Yes, sir. Again, this is a request to, subdivide an acreage tract into 3 lots of record. Each lot will contain well over the 1 acre minimum that is required in A1 zoning. In fact, the smallest of these lots is nearly 5 acres. All of these lots will have frontage on a private drive, which is allowed in the zoning regulations. There is a small amount of floodplain that is on the property, and as such, any sort of development that would take place on the property itself would require a floodplain development permit, which we would handle at the time if there was any sort of permit that would be happening on the property. As it complies with all the requirements of the zoning regulations, staff recommended approval.
All right, thank you. Is the applicant here? All right, thank you, welcome. Is there anyone in opposition to this subdivision case today? All right, hearing none. Any questions from the commissioners? All right, hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for approval of S230045.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to the next subdivision case is S230046. Applicant Sheila Stevenson. This is 2 lots proposed in the Trustful area.
All right. Yes, sir. This is both a combination of a resurvey as well as an inclusion of an acreage tract to be proposed subdivided into 2 lots of record, both of which will not have road frontage on a county or on a public road or private road for that matter, and thus there is in order to approve it, you would have to have an exception to the subdivision regulations to allow both Lot 2C and Lot 2D to be recorded with no road frontage. The lots themselves are kind of irregularly shaped. However, they otherwise conform to all the requirements of A1 zoning, And with that being said, staff recommends approval, again, with that exception to allow the recordation for lots 2C and 2D without any road frontage.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here? Very good, welcome, thank you. Any opposition to this subdivision case today? All right, hearing none, any questions from the commissioners? All right, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for approval of S-230046.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next subdivision case, S-230047. Applicant Mary Palmer, 2 lots proposed in the Bessemer area.
Yes, sir. Again, this is a request. This is sort of a cleanup job. There's been an improper division of the property in the past, and this is to address that and properly subdivide the property into 2 lots, each of which will contain over the 1 acre minimum that is required. There was a variance that was granted by the Board of Zoning Adjustment to allow the recordation of Lot 1 having only 30 feet of road frontage in lieu of the required 50 feet. I will say that the County Commission did recommend a conditional use permit for Lot 1 for a cell tower site. And this is also part of their permitting, as we can't issue any permits prior to properly subdividing the property. As each lot does meet the required and varied standards of the zoning regulations as well as the subdivision regulations, staff recommends approval of this one as well.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here? All right, you're welcome. Is there any opposition to the subdivision case today? All right, hearing none, any questions from the commissioners? All right, hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for approval of S-230047.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next subdivision case is S-230048. Applicant Amos Reese. This is 3 lots proposed in Birmingham.
Yes, sir. This property is out at 332 Crumley Chapel Road out in the Adamsville area. This is church property. It currently includes an auxiliary use of the church itself, like a family life center, for instance, the church parsonage itself, and there's an amount of acreage, and altogether they're subdividing this into 3 lots, one of which will contain the former parsonage, the other will contain the church auxiliary facility, and the other will be a vacant lot as is proposed. Currently, the property itself is all zoned institutional 1. If and when the property owner wants to change the use of the property, for instance, for private ownership, private residence, they would need to rezone Lot 2 or Lot 3 if it were developed in any way that would be outside of the confines of the zoning regulations. As it stands, the garage on the property is currently located 20 feet off of this north property line. The garage on Lot 2, which is 20 feet off the north property line, which does not comply with the zoning requirements. However, what we could do is, if the property were to be rezoned to a residential classification, as is speculated with the use of the property, this would not be a setback issue. Also, the garage could be moved or removed from the property, and thus complying with the zoning requirements, and or the lot line itself could be adjusted to accommodate that particular setback line, and we could do that administratively. As it stands, the proposed subdivision could be approved, but we would not be able to sign the final plat until such rezoning and or such adjustment to the lot line or some sort of variance perhaps were to be granted for the property, which again, we would just hold the plat until that time. Other than that, land-wise, it satisfies every other requirements of the zoning regulations despite what's on the ground now. And with that being said, staff again recommended approval as all 3 lots have road frontage, lot frontage, meet minimum lot size requirements in institutional 1 and the surrounding R2 zoning if the property were to be rezoned.
Thank you, Mr. Marson. Is the applicant here? Okay. Is there any opposition to this subdivision case? Would the applicant come forward and give us your name and address? I think we have a few questions for you.
Yes, Amos Reese, 3556 Great Oak Lane, 35223, Birmingham.
Thank you. Mr. Reese, so could you tell us a little bit about your plans for the house shown here on Lot 2 and the Lot 3 vacant lot?
Yes, the intent is to get a rezoning case, to get them rezoned. I think eventually what they're wanting to do with the house and the lot behind is eventually to sell. They want to keep the building, which is a gymnasium, with the church, but the rest of it they did want to resell.
Okay. Did you understand what Mr. Morrison was talking about, the issues with the setback on the garage?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and that will prohibit, until you resolve this, either through rezoning or changing the lot line or a variance case, prevent you from being able to sign the final plat. Thank you. Okay. And you understand that? That's not a problem for you?
No.
Okay, all right. While you're up, any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, I appreciate it. So since there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve S-230048.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. So we have a few more subdivision cases to go, but we're moving along well. This is next one is S-230049. Applicant Stephen, and I'm not going to say your last name because I'm not sure how to pronounce it correctly. But this is 2 lots proposed in Bessemer area. Mr. Mike?
Yes, sir. Again, this is a request to subdivide an acreage tract into 2 lots of record. Each of the proposed lots will meet the minimum lot size requirements as well as road frontage requirements as A1 zoning. The structures on the property will comply with the setback requirements in A1 zoning. What's unique to this particular case is that the final plat will also have to be signed by the Shelby County engineer, as Lot 2 will have access from a road that is maintained by Shelby County. As it meets all of the requirements in the zoning and subdivision, staff did recommend approval of this request.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mike. Is the applicant here? I didn't miss a hand, did I? No applicant. Okay. Any opposition to this subdivision case? All right, hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for...
I apologize. I forgot a question. Any questions from the commission? All right, now I'll take your motion. Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for approval of S-230049.
Rod, second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Next subdivision case, S-230050. David Champion applicant, 2 lots proposed in the Adger area.
Again, yes, sir. I believe this is also a cleanup job where we have an improper conveyance of property that's being brought into compliance. In this situation, you've got an acreage tract that's being divided into 2 lots. Each lot will exceed the minimum requirement of 1 acre in A1 zoning. Each will have adequate road frontage that's required in the zoning regulations. And as such, staff recommends approval.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mike. Is the applicant here? All right, welcome. Is there any opposition to this subdivision case? Any questions from any of the commissioners? May I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for approval of S-230050.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Next subdivision case is S-230050.
5-1.
Sorry, 5-1. And I'm not going to say the applicant's name again. He wasn't here for his first case, 2 cases back. This is 2 lots proposed in the Bessemer area. Mr. Morrison?
Yes, sir. In this particular instance, again, this is what we call a cleanup job, where there has been a portion of this portion of this lot of record that has been conveyed to an adjacent property owner for the purpose of access. And so what the end result is a lot that contains 0.71 acres and another lot that contains 0.31 acres. The Board of Zoning Adjustment has granted variances for these lots to be recorded, each of which having less than 1 acre. They did stipulate, and it would be stipulated on the final plat if the board were to approve, that Lot 3 be not for any sort of development, construction, again, no residences, no sheds, no anything else, other than it's just for access. As it meets all the requirements of the zoning and subdivision regulations and the varied requirements of the zoning regulations, staff did recommend approval.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Morrison. I know the applicant's not here because we already called him previously. Is there any opposition to this subdivision case today? Any question from the commissioners? May I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for approval of S230051.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. So that concludes our subdivision cases today. I wanted to talk a little bit about our zoning cases. So the zoning cases that we hear today, we evaluate these and make a recommendation for the county commission. So we're not the final decision makers on the zoning cases. So we're advisory only. The final determination is made at a Jefferson County Commission public hearing that will be held after this, and everyone that's within 500 feet of those properties will be notified of that meeting as well. So we're going to go ahead and go into the zoning cases. There was one that was advertised and then advertised again as being postponed. I'm just going to mention it and see if anyone's here regarding this one. It's Z230018, and it's in the McCalla area. Is there anyone here for that case today? All right, well, that case has been postponed. I just want to make sure if you were here for that one that we're not going to hear it today. It'll be held at another time. It'll be advertised accordingly. All right, so our next case that we're going to hear is zoning case Z230019. The applicant is Brandy Ashley. This is currently zoned I3 and I2, and it requests a change in zoning to A1 to remove the split zoning. This is in the Azure area.
Okay, yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The property is actually located at 1330 Block 17 in Azure. The applicant/owner is Brandy Ashley. And as you mentioned, the applicant is requesting to rezone this property from I3 and institutional 2 to A1 to remove split zoning for residential purpose. This is a location map showing where the property is located within Jefferson County. It's in the purple looking colored part that's to the west. Here we're showing the area zoning to the area image to the left is highlighted in the gold area, and to the right we have the current zoning. It shows the majority of the property to be I3 industrial, and then there's a small portion that's in the green looking with the red lines on it, which is institutional 2. The existing land use is heavy industrial, and the future land use is rural. This is the street view of the property. This is staff recommendation and summary of the property. The property, at the bottom, you'll see the history of the property. All of this was once one parcel, and if you see there to the northwest, where it's green, it shows Z2003-22. That property was rezoned to A1. And then to the northeast, we see 1992123. That property was rezoned as well to A1. As I mentioned earlier, the applicant is requesting to rezone the entirety of the property there to the south to A1 for residential use to sell the property. The development proposal is consistent with the development patterns in the area, and staff is recommending approval.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hughes. Is the applicant here? Would you like to add anything to Ms. Hughes' presentation before I call for opposition? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here opposed to this zoning case that would like to speak? All right. Any questions for the applicant from the commissioners? Okay, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Z23-0019 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Our next zoning case is Z230020. The applicant is William Byrd and Associated Investment Company. The current zoning is C1, and it requests a change to C1 without the restrictive covenant for a child care and developmental services center. And this is in the McCalla area.
Yes, sir.
Proceed.
The property is actually located at 6021 Macashan Drive. Here to the north of the property in the purple / fuchsia-looking color, that's where the property is located within Jefferson County. To the left here, we have the aerial view of the picture of the property is outlined in the yellowish gold. The current zoning is commercial there to your right. The existing land use is general commercial, and the future land use is commercial. This is the street view of the property, which is actually a house. I did also put the bird eye view there so you can get a idea what the general area looks like. There circled in the yellow is the property in question. And if we see here, right here near the interstate, that's the Flying J. This here is a vacant commercial building. This is the Circle K. So just want to point out that the majority of properties in the area are transitioning to commercial. The staff summary and recommendation. This property was rezoned from A1 to C1 restrictive covenants in 2002 for compliance of a construction business where the owner lived part-time. The current restrictive covenants are that the zoning is limited to a model home / sales office for construction business and one detached utility / storage building only, and that the property owner shall pave the driveway from the edge of the pavement on Macashan Drive to the right-of-way. The proposed use is consistent with the development patterns in the area, and staff is recommending approval. I would like to mention a few things regarding this property. If the footprint of the property ever changes, then a variance may be required on the west side of the building to make sure it meets the 35 feet setback. I also want to bring up that the Roads and Transportation is in the process of widening Macashan Drive from Bay Drive to Old Tuscaloosa. And if an easement or right-of-way is needed, then the owner will have to donate that. And then the existing monument sign is in the right-of-way and would have to be removed. That's all I have for you today.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hughes. Is the applicant present? All right, do you want to add anything to Mrs. Hughes' remarks before we ask for opposition? If you do, you got to come up and give us your name and address. Okay, we'll come back to that. Okay, so I'll go ahead and ask for opposition. Is there anyone here in opposition to this zoning case? All right, why don't you come on up and give us your name and address, and we have a few questions for you.
William Bird. My address is 5184 Caldwell Mill Road, Suite 204.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bird. Appreciate you coming out. Ms. Hughes mentioned that the sign, I believe there's a monument sign, is currently in the right-of-way, and it's going to be affected by the expansion of the road. And I just want to make sure you're aware that that's going to need to be resolved at some point.
I am now. I wasn't aware of that.
Okay.
It's up on the hill.
Yes, I haven't visited the site personally, but I'm guessing it's real close to the road, and the widening is going to take the sign, so yeah. It can be, you can work it out with roads and transportation, but it's going to have to be moved at some point because it'll be in the road.
Yeah, I'm glad to know that. We're in the process of purchasing the property. Mr.
Yes.
Wright did put the driveway in recently.
Okay. So anyway, that was just more of just a heads up. It's just something that we discovered as part of the reviewing it for the
I'm glad to know it.
Yes. So I understand it's a nice monument sign. So
it is, but it can be moved. It's just.
So, and you might want to time it with when they're going to do the work in the area.
When do you think that's going to be?
If you want to, you can talk to Roads and Transportation afterwards, unless you got a quick answer for them.
Quick answer within the next 18 months.
Okay. That's no problem. Okay. Thank you.
All right. So, and if you need to refine, you can go down and talk to them and see where they're at. So.
Okay.
Let's see. And as far as the site plan, are you planning on any alterations to the site plan, parking or anything like that?
No, my client's not. She owns a daycare in 5 Points. I have pictures if you want to see it.
That's okay.
You're
just going to use it as is, basically, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That may be renovated on the inside to
Yes.
suit the child care development needs.
Okay. All right, that's all I had. I was going to see, any other commissioners have questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, can I have a motion on this zoning case Z230020, please?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Z230020 and removal of restrictive covenants that this zoning is limited to a model home sales office for the construction business and one detached utility storage building only, and the property owner shall pave the driveway from the edge of the pavement, which is Macashan Drive, to the right-of-way.
I second, Mr. Chair.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. All right, our next zoning case is Z230022. Applicant is William Wilson. Current zoning is C1. This is a request to change the zoning to institutional 2, and this is in the Grayson Valley area.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, this property or subject property consists of 3 addresses, 2431, 2435, and 2445 Grayson Valley Drive. It's in near the Trustful area. The aerial map here shows you that the property is somewhere in the vicinity of the intersection of Grayson Valley Drive and Chalkville Road. The only other thing to point out about this aerial view is there's a floodplain and floodway that's following Grayson Valley from the northeast to the southwest, and nothing can go into that floodway or floodplain according to the county's floodplain administrator. This is the county's future land use map, which shows or identifies the property as commercial. The institutional zone district would be permitted within that commercial designation. This is the county's current zoning map, which shows you the property is presently zoned commercial, or C1. This is an aerial view, an eagle-eye view of the area. So if you're coming down on Chalkville Mountain Road, if you're familiar with the Trustful area, you're coming over that mountain from the Trustful Walmart. There's going to be your Jack's on the left, then CVS also. And then at the intersection of Grayson Valley and Chalkville Road is Advanced Auto Part. And there adjacent on the east side is the subject property encircled in red. So that property is one of 2 phases. Phase 1 is to the north, which the Planning and Zoning Committee approved under rezoning case Z2301, and you approved that case in April of this year. And so phase 2 is what you're considering today. And I think we believe you mentioned it, but this is for rezoning for an age-restricted community, 55 plus. This is a resurvey of the property. Shows you both phase 1 and phase 2. So the phase 1 you approved again in April of 2023. You approved the rezoning from C1 institutional 2, and phase 2 is a mirror image of phase 1. It's the same request, if you will. They're asking for a rezoning from C1 to institutional 2 under the current KZ 2322. And this phase 1 consists of 5.52 acres, I believe, and phase 1 consisted of 7.68 acres. This was the survey you approved in April under S2301. So there's a reconfiguration from the previous plat. And this is the applicant's site plan. I don't know if it's to scale or how accurate it is, but superficially, this is what has been submitted. It's conceptual at best. And so, as pointed out in the pre-meeting, there's a couple of errors here. But anyway, this site plan, what it contains is 45 residential units, again on 5.52 acres. They're proposing 3 stormwater ponds and 132 off-street parking spaces, where I believe 45 spaces are required by ordinance. The proposed development complies with the development criteria of the institutional 2 zone district. Just to bring up 1 or 2 issues that came up in the pre-meeting, as you know, the proposed detention pond that's there in the southwest area cannot impact the floodway. And then again, the floodplain administrator has said nothing can go into that floodway or a floodplain that's running north and south. This map is a little configured differently. But you see the floodway as it's shown on the site plan. Okay. Staff is recommending approval, Mr. Chairman. We're recommending approval of the rezoning to the institutional zone district. Age-restricted communities are permitted within the institutional 2 zone district. The site plan complies with the institutional 2 zone district criteria and with respect to area dimensional regulations. We have suggested that you consider 2 conditions for this rezoning. One, that a final architectural rendering and elevation drawings be submitted to this committee for final approval. And 2, building C be set back 35 feet from the north side property line where it's adjacent, showing adjacent to the FEMA floodplain and floodway on the applicant's site plan. And as you're aware, traffic engineering is requesting a traffic study. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Brown, I would like you to go back.
Yes, sir.
Before you do, on condition 2, would you show me which building, and which portion of the building you're talking about on the site plan? Is that it?
Okay.
Building C at the bottom?
Yeah, my apologies, and I should have corrected. Previously on a previously submitted site plan, there was a building here, but they removed it. So we pointed that out to the applicant, and he very quickly submitted a revised site plan. So that building's still on. Now you see building, that building's over here. So the condition recommended no longer applies? Yeah, that's true. But again, nothing can go into that. Not even the landscaping that they're showing here can go in the floodplain or floodway. And the applicant said he won't put anything there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So just to make sure that condition
Number 2.
No, condition number 2 is not applicable anymore.
Yeah, I wrote that when they submitted their original site plan, but they did revise it, and I apologize for that.
No problem. I just wanted to clarify.
Revised, yes, sir. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Is there applicant here? Do you want to supplement Mr. Brown's presentation? If so, name and address first, please.
Bill Wilson, or William Wilson, with Gonzalez Strength and Associates, 1550 Woods River Chase Drive, Suite 200, Birmingham, Alabama, 35244. I just wanted to, to confirm what Willie was saying. This is schematic, basically. Of course, we're in the survey state, and whenever we get a survey in, we'll tidy this up based on the recommendations that your staff has given us, and just wanted to confirm that we will not be doing anything inside that floodway. We're having our surveyor right now add to the survey exactly where that floodplain is, so we know where to stay out of. So we won't be doing anything inside the floodway, and these conditions that the staff has recommended we're okay with, except for the one that needs to be deleted.
Not applicable. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Is there any opposition? Did we get his address? We did, didn't we? Okay. Is there any opposition to this zoning case today? Okay. Mr. Wilson, would you join us up at the podium again? I think we have some questions for you. So maybe just some clarifications too. So to the floodway area, so you've got a detention pond noted in the bottom left-hand corner. There's an existing detention pond already on the property. I happen to live in the area, know this area really well. So
right.
It's hidden from the main road by trees and brush and everything. But it does exist. It was gone in. The previous property owner went in and excavated out a detention pond to hold the stormwater.
Okay.
And it runs along the floodway. So I'm guessing you're going to integrate that into.
Yeah, we will. That'll be part of our stormwater drainage calculations that we do. If there's a detention pond already there, we'll take that in consideration and make sure our detention pond isn't releasing any more than what it was before.
Okay. That was just more a comment for awareness.
Okay.
So one thing that I was missing, I was here for when we did the zoning case for your first phase of this property, and the site plan we got or the schematic today, it's just for this phase. Do you have with you a drawing that shows the site plan for everything?
I do. Let's see. That's one copy that I've got more.
Because that was something that we were really interested in, so that would be great.
Yes, sir.
Here. I have a couple. Put down.
Got one more if you need it.
You mind pausing for a moment? Let us review it. While everybody else is looking at it, I had a couple of questions. So right now you have, well, maybe remarks more than questions. So right now you have access off of Grayson Valley Parkway for both phases of this. And there's going to be a traffic study, a condition that a traffic study be done. And based on the traffic study and roads and transportation's review your site plan, it could be that your access could need to be changed. I don't know what to. It may be a different access point, or may ask for 2 access points. So, but the flood plain throws a trick into that on Grayson Valley Drive. So, but just something we talked about at length, but that's will be handled later in the process.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So, I have no idea what that's going to be. The traffic study will yield that, and then work with roads and transportation. Yes.
Okay. Go. I'll probably have my traffic guy call you, see what they need to study. Okay.
Okay, and let's see. On phase 1, you've got 2 water features. Are those detention ponds, or are they just visuals, or you're going to actually have water?
We're just going to have the one, the biggest one.
So it's going to be is it a detention pond or is it a lake?
Detention pond.
Pond, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. And tell me a little bit about your plans for Grayson Valley Drive here. I know it's in the floodway, so there's a right-of-way, and because the land's been unused, it's been not maintained very much. I know you probably want to keep the buffer there, but I'd like to, well, this is just a request that you maintain the property outside. You know, your property is going to be inside the fence, so to speak, but on the main road, maintaining that too.
Okay. As far as, what do you mean maintain? I'm sorry.
Keeping it trimmed up nicely.
Okay.
I mean, it's the entrance to the subdivision.
Aesthetics.
In the golf course, aesthetics,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
I think right now it gets abused a lot and just left alone. So
It doesn't. Okay.
since you're going to be the owner now, it'd be nice to keep it up. So
Okay.
So, and it'll make your area look good too. So when
The
people,
developer, I mean, they do nice properties, nice looking
you know,
properties.
I mean, if you want to take, I mean, if it makes your property look good, I mean, you may want to open that up a little bit so people can see in what's going on. So I'll leave it up to you.
Okay.
So, all right. I think that's everything I had on mine. My comments. Any other questions from the commissioners?
Yep. You said this could be strictly a 55 and above community?
That's correct. Yes, correct.
that is-
Just like the first phase.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. So just in review, we only had one condition, and that's the architectural renderings and elevation drawings be provided to us for final review and approval, just like on phase 1.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay. And I know I asked this question last time, so let me ask this one. You're just doing single levels, is that right?
Single level, that's correct. Correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I think that's all. I don't hear any more questions, so thank you for coming up and give us answers on this.
Thank you.
I think, and just for roads and transportation, do we need a condition for the traffic study?
Not on the rezoning, but when you get before your permit, we'll review the traffic study based on both phases, because it doesn't have impacts in that high end.
Okay. So just to be clear, we don't need a condition for that, correct?
Correct.
All right. All right, thank you. I'll take a motion for this one, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve Z230022 with the following condition, that the final architectural rendering and elevation drawings be reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I second that motion.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. That concludes our business for today. We are adjourned. Open and close.
She's not out there
I always
today.
wondered, like, a lot of people that are here, they don't say anything or do anything.